Hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. My name's Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host Marcie, and I forgot to say that we're presented by Offside.
Hello.
I
It's not
look,
out of order.
look, in my defense, I'm sick right now. If you I feel like you can still hear it in my voice. I sounded way worse yesterday.
It wasn't.
Like,
It was looking bleak yesterday.
y- it was touch or go for a sec to see if we could even record today because I sounded way worse. I still sound sick. You can still hear it. But yesterday, like, Marcy's kept all the voice messages. I've noticed that you've done that.
Wait, what?
Like on iMessage, when you can like keep the voice messages. I've noticed you've kept all of the ones that I've sent you.
I'm.
Yeah,
What?
the audio messages.
What? I listened to them.
Yeah, and then you kept them. So you have me
You can
sounding
do
like
that.
you did.
I didn't press anything. I just listened to it.
I don't know, but somehow you did. We don't need to figure this out now. We can figure this out later.
Yeah.
But you're gonna play that. You're gonna be like, this, yeah. So I know, I was like, oh, so this is gonna show. I honestly thought you were about to be like, see, look how much worse she sounded yesterday.
Oh, it's on autumn. It says keep messages is on forever.
Oh, okay. So you didn't do it
So
on purpose. I
I
thought you did
didn't.
it on purpose. So you could be
No,
like, look
I
how
didn't.
bad she sounded yesterday. Here you go.
No, oh my gosh, no. I was so confused. I was like, what am I being accused of? All I did was listen to them. This is slander.
I thought you were about to, if I'm going to be so completely honest.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, no, Leafs played 2 games since our last episode. They lost both.
yeah. Games definitely happened.
They took place.
That there
Um,
was 2 games.
yeah, and the thing is if like I know because I know there's a lot of doomsdaying from Leafs fans right now, like at least on Twitter, about like the wins and the losses and things like that. I'm like, if you guys look at the like the standings for the Atlantic, everyone's basically tied.
Hmm.
It's like it's not weird because we knew the Atlantic was gonna the Atlantic has always been a competitive division in the
Hmm.
past few years, right?
Yeah.
Um, like there's been a lot of cup winners to come out of the Atlantic recently.
Yeah.
Reigning champs are Atlantic, but like or at least have gone very far in the playoffs. And so we knew like it's not a surprise, but it's like you would like to not be tied with about 5 other teams
Yeah, it'd be
in
nice
an
not.
8 team division. Like
Ideally.
ideal and like the teams that like aren't like in that group of like sitting for win. Like if I look at the standings, which I don't like doing this early in the season, I get myself into like mid November before I start to worry
Mhm.
too much about standings. But like if you look at the standings, there's like 6 teams all sitting at 500 for their points percentage. They're all sitting at 50%. Like there's 5 teams all sitting at the same points percentage.
It's
Do you know how insane that is? That's
it's
crazy.
crazy. But it's like, what's been like really bugging me about everyone on Twitter who's basically gone like, oh my god, it's so over, but like seriously, and not just me tweeting after the Leafs lose again.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, guys, we're, it's so early into the season, and it's like
We're 9 games in
we've not
of an
even hit
82 game season.
we've not even hit double digits, and you're already giving up.
And you're already doomsday. And like this is what happens. Like the Leafs, like it's the same thing every year, is they don't have a great October. They have a better November. They have a really good November
Mm.
usually. And then they have like, and then that continues into December. It kind of falls apart around the new year. Someone on the blue line gets hurt, or multiple people on the blue line get hurt or suspended or whatever, and we're stuck playing like Mark Giordano and a Dream on our blue line. And then All-Star break comes around. They get off to a really good start after the All-Star break. Then trade deadline happens. They make some pretty, like, you know what I mean? Like they move some things around. They bolster the lineup and they bolster the depth. And then we ride off and then it's pretty smooth sailing into the playoffs. And then there's always that like last couple weeks of the season where they play like just fine and then people start doomsdaying their playoff performance. It's the same. We go through the same routine every single year.
Do it with my eyes shut at this point.
Like, and yes, there is some things to worry about because you do want the team to improve and you want them to start improving now and not like figure it out. So it's like there is some things to point out where I'm like, there are some things that I don't want to say worry me, but like at least they make me nervous, or at least like they're very noticeable when you watch the Leafs play.
Yeah.
Right? And it can lead to the past couple of games that we've seen from the Leafs where they've lost 3 in a row now. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the most recent 2 losses. And then we're going to talk about what comes up next tonight and some other things. But we can start with the first loss, which was Thursday night. Toronto versus St. Louis. It's the first time for Craig Berube to play against his former team. Not play, but like coach against his former team that he won a Stanley Cup with since they fired him last year. Talks about that. It also marks the season debut for Joseph Woll.
Yay!
Versus his hometown team. He's from the St. Louis area. Not exactly St. Louis, but he's from in and around St. Louis. He's from the St. Louis area.
Close enough.
Close enough. I've been told that he's not exactly from St. Louis. He's from the St. Louis area.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Close enough. But so he's playing against his hometown team. It's a little bit of a hometown versus hometown team because Jordan Binnington started for St. Louis and he's from the Toronto area as well. He's from Richmond Hill, which is not Toronto, but is still like the GTA. Fun fact, is where I was born.
Aww.
I don't know if I want to like put it in with Jordan Binnington, but like I can say it with like Connor McDavid, and that sounds so cooler than Jordan Binnington. That's a little bit cooler than Jordan Binnington, I will admit. But yeah, so no Max Pacioretty for this game. Lorentz up to the third line, which was fine. Like he's still not a driver on that line, and that's what bothers me about the third line is they just don't have someone to drive that line with, like, you know, like that's still an issue for that third line. And like as much as I love Lorentz, like, and I've applauded his game, I think he's playing a great game. And this is nothing like not his fault at all when I like criticize this like the third line and be like they don't have someone to drive that line. It's kind of just a nothing line. It's not on him because that's like his role is not to drive the third line.
Yeah.
His role is to play a really strong game on the fourth line, which is what he's been doing this season so far for the Leafs.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying crazy things. I don't even have like all the goals listed out in order. I do know that like Holloway and Broberg both scored. I think Holloway got 2, but I did want to point out one specific goal in particular that really, really bothered me. And that I could see coming, and you could see it, and like you're just like, is Holloway's first goal. And also fair context. I was watching this game with my radio co-host Mary, who's a St. Louis Blues fan. She came over to my apartment. We had pizza. We watched the game. It was great. She watched me lose my mind over this team. She was a real good sport about her team absolutely destroying the Leafs. And she just almost like felt bad for me because I was like very much losing my mind over some of these things. Specifically this Holloway
Oh.
goal where he is like, my main point for the Leafs is that they just have poor defensive positioning. They have poor positioning overall, but specifically poor defensive positioning. And this Holloway goal is like prime example of that. Why
Yeah.
is he behind the defense on a face-off in your own zone? How did he get, like, how are you allowing him to stand there? I know he has his own free will, and you can't just be like, oh, this guy's behind us now, let's go check. But, like, you're telling me no one noticed that, like,
Yeah, like,
I
you
don't know
have to.
how old is Holloway? I don't know. But, like, this is a point that I bring up later when I was like, not bring up later, but this is even like a point that I bring up when I talk about the Sens is like they allowed like 6'4" Nicholas Rod to like just like sneak through them. I'm like, how do you not notice a guy who is 6'4"? I don't think Holloway is 6'4", but because he looks smaller than that. But
He's
like,
23.
yeah, he's 23. Yeah, I knew he was young, but like I was looking at his like height. How tall is he?
Oh, what's that in feet? He's 6 foot.
So he's still like, it's not like huge, but he's still that's a 6 foot tall man in full hockey gear. How are you
Yeah.
telling me that you did not see him standing behind you in front of your net? And like maybe you're like, oh, you know, if we win the draw, then the puck won't slip through and we'll have puck possession, so it doesn't really matter. I'm like,
But I was like,
still,
what if you don't?
what if you? I don't even know who was taking that face off. I probably should go back and look because if it was like Max Domi who can't win a face off to save his life,
Mm.
have you noticed that his face off percentage is
Yeah,
horrible?
it's a. I think I could probably do better.
Oh, so could I. Like that's the thing. I'm like, and we keep like it's even like it's the point where we start the second line to like start the game. And you
Mm.
lose the opening face-off because you have Max Domi taking the face-off.
Like, how many more failed face-offs do we have to witness this man do?
And it's like I don't even like I understand you maybe don't want to start your top line because it depends what the other team is starting. But
Mm.
like so you don't want to start like I don't know, I'm like start Austin Matthews, start John Tavares or something. Like
Mm.
John Tavares is there. Like he has an insane face-off win rate.
Like,
He's one of the best face-off takers in the league right now.
mm.
That's
It's the
maybe the
amulet.
only thing he's doing well right now.
Oh God.
But yeah, I just have like yeah, so I don't like go back, watch the goal, look at where Holloway is standing, and you're like, okay, so then he gets like a just like absolutely can just free shot on Joseph Wool, takes his pick of where he wants it to go, and it goes in.
Yeah.
What else? I have also here just a note where I was like, it stood out to me a little bit, and even like Mary I was sitting with was like, this is not like what I expect. And she brought up this really great point. It's why it's great to watch games with other people. Because they point
Yeah.
out, but she was like, Joseph, like he's shaky. He's not like he doesn't look as good as you expect him to.
No.
And then so she was like, did he? Then she brought up this point that I like really wished because then it was all she hadn't because then it was all I was thinking about for the rest of the game was like, did he get rushed back from injury? And the only reason why I like I'm like I didn't totally be like, nah, no, it's just bad game from him is this quote from Craig Rube about the fact that Joseph Will was starting that night that he said to the media that was like, this is the date that we've always targeted.
I don't like that.
I don't personally love that quote because that quote tells me like could tell me like tells me something. It tells me like, okay, so when come 3 weeks ago 3 weeks ago, um the, and and you realize, oh, he's injured, he's hurt, he can't play. Did you just go and you're like, okay, we'll start you this day against St. Louis? And then you had to try and fit whatever his injury was into that 3-week timeline.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but
And like I'm right now, like the Leafs were at a point in their schedule, and I understand maybe like if you're the Marlies, you kind of want Dennis Hill to be back because it's Dennis Hill to be. And like like Marlies still like they have some pretty decent goaltending as well, and like who they have there, like oh my god, I need his name written down, or before I just call him like Artie Party. I don't want to call him Artie Party. Has had some fantastic straights a game, except for their most recent game against Belleville on was it Sunday or was it Saturday night? They were undefeated through the start of the season. Like it was like 6 games or something they played undefeated.
They were wearing their amulets.
They were. You can't make me laugh because then I'm just gonna have to cough and then it's gonna be so bad.
But I can't not be funny.
But they, and even like the game against Belleville was close as well. It was like 2-1 win for Belleville. That was like, and it was a close game.
Yeah.
So, like, hey, the Marlies are looking pretty good to start the season. And they may get like more help as the Leafs have guys return from injury and things like that. And because there's a lot of money for the Leafs sitting on LTIR right now.
Yep.
That they don't have room for currently. And like Fraser Minten is a guy honestly, I think he's gonna start. Like I've seen people debate whether he's gonna get any time with the Leafs to start coming back from injury, or if he's gonna get sent right down to the Marlies. Send him to the Marlies.
Yeah, like
he's 20 years old. Send him to the Marlies. Like have him hang out. Have him hang out with like Alex Nylander and who else is there? Why am I only thinking of Alex Nylander right now? Is like the only Marlies for like Cade Weber. I don't know. I'm sure he's friends with Cade Weber. I'm trying to think of like anybody else, and my mind is just like totally blanking. I've seen these guys, like I watched like half these guys like play games during the preseason.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, who's a Marley? Nick Abruzzese. There we go. Joe Blandisi. I'm now thinking of Marlies.
We get in there. You've done it well done.
Alex Steves.
Oh, I love you, Alex Steves.
There we go. Now the Marlies are rolling.
There we go.
But I don't want to say that Joseph Woll got rushed back, and I do understand when you're a goaltender like coming back from an injury, you're maybe gonna have like a shaky start because it is really hard. Like the thing about goaltender position is you can't really like reduce minutes, in the same way that you can for a skater. Like if it's a skater, you can be like, okay, we're gonna put you we're gonna bring you back on the third line. You're not going to like get any power play time or like any penalty kill time. You're just gonna go out and you're gonna play like 11 minutes. For a goalie, like unless you want to make the goalie swap halfway through the game, but then you're putting your goalie like in cold anyways, and that's still a risk for injury.
Yeah.
It still doesn't work. So it's harder as well, and I get that, and I get it was his first game back from injury. We won't see him play against Winnipeg. Spoiler alert, we'll see when he plays next. Who knows? But yeah. I also have here Oliver Ekman-Larsson, first of the season, and as a Leaf. It was a good shot. I was like, all right.
Oh, go on.
He's now playing more with Morgan Rielly than Chris Tanev. They've now put Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev together as a shutdown pair. That's kind of become the norm. I also have here as a note, John Tavares is slow.
Whoa, no way.
I think we've been saying that for the past couple of episodes. It just seems like he's really slowing down, and like he was never like the fastest skater to begin with. But like when you're, because who did he play with? He played with Stolarz, who isn't also like, he's a pretty fast guy, Stolarz. And then Robertson, who's also like a fast guy. And it's just noticeable, that's all.
Yeah.
I also have here Connor Timmins truly can't be our best option.
Nope.
The amount of turnovers there was in the neutral zone. And then the only guy who was playing back was Connor Timmins.
What is going on?
What are we doing? We're like, you're playing up, you're playing in the other zone, you're playing in your own zone, and the only defenseman you have staying back is Connor Timmins.
Like, guys, come on.
Yes, noted for his defensive prowess, Connor Timmins. I routinely called that man a forward who can skate backwards.
It's like, why?
There was so many like scoring chances or even goals. I think there was probably a couple in this game where that was the exact scenario that took place. And then I have a tweet that more relates to like I tweeted out during like the game against Boston, so I guess I'll bring it up then because we were gonna just talk about poor defensive positioning and poor defense the whole time. But I had like the Braden Shen breakaway. And like that Braden Shen breakaway happened, and my friend like Mary turns to me and goes, "That's why you wanted Joseph Wollin. Like that's why you want Joseph Wollin net instead of Ilya Samsonov."
Yeah.
I know Ilya Samsonov is not playing for the Leafs anymore, and he's in Vegas, and he's like having an okay start to a season, but like like I just remember last year there would be that scenario and Samsonov would be in net, and you'd be like, "All right, there's the goal."
But
I also have I still have written down here net front positioning is awful. I feel again like a broken record because I'm repeating the same thing every single episode where I'm like, this is what the Leafs need to fix. Yeah. And I know they probably know they need to fix this. Like I've been watching the Habs Crave series partially just because I'm curious and I like seeing that behind the scenes stuff. And it's interesting. And you learn some things, but also like for the haterism, I'm like, oh yes, show me the Habs losing most of their games this last season.
Gives me hope.
It makes me feel a little bit joyful when like they're like, we need to win more games. We're so bad. Like, but you learn things. You learn things from this Crave series. I actually honestly recommend it if you do have Crave to watch it because you learn things. Like, I think that for me, like personally, it's like not a Habs stan. The most exciting and like interesting part of the series so far for me has been like the 15 minutes of the last 15 minutes of the trade deadline episode. Because it's them talking their way through like the Jake Allen trade and like showing kind of the process. And you learn things like Kent Hughes called up Danny Briere, was like, I have a player for you. Who was that player he was offering up to the Flyers? Who was it? I would right? Like that's the thing where I'm like, oh.
The people
or also you just learn that like Kent Hughes has Tom Fitzgerald, the GM of the New Jersey Devils, in his phone is Tommy Fitz. That made me laugh. Brilliant. I was like, that's great insight. I didn't know I needed to know that information, but like, thank you for telling me that that's what Kent Hughes has Tom Fitzgerald in as his phone as is Tommy Fitz.
Brilliant.
But there was this part, and the reason why I bring it up is not just about that one part, but like the reason why they bring it up, I bring it up is because there's this part really early on into the episode before like the season starts. Like it was in like the first episode, and it was like something where it was like Kent Hughes was there, and I think also their president of hockey operations. Like there was like, or assistant GM. Like there was, I know Kent Hughes was there, and I can't remember for the life of me who the other guy was. But they were talking to like members of like the Habs like front office, kind of like their office staff, more so than like the front office. So like accounting and like human resources.
Yeah.
Right? The people who like work because it's an off, you know what I mean? It's like they just work in an office, not necessarily like they still do work for a hockey team, but they work in an office, right?
Yeah.
And kind of separated from the hockey side of things. But and they were asked questions being like, oh, what's like the craziest thing a fan has ever said to you? And they didn't really answer that question, but they did say like one of the things is like fans will come up to us and be like, oh, have you tried this? Oh, this needs to get fixed. And no one has ever said something to them that they haven't already like known that they need to address, or like something that's going wrong, or like something that they've already thought of, right? So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Leafs need to fix this, which they do. I'm pointing out the obvious. The front office staff and the coaching staff know what has to get better with this team. If I can spot it, they surely have also spotted it, right?
Yeah, like it. They have to know.
Absolutely.
Like you
But I
can't.
will say, like, net front positioning, both like defensively and offensively, is just bad. And this loops back to what I brought up last episode about playoff style goal. Like, driving the net is so important, and they just like don't do it. And like that's the problem. It's like Jordan Binnington is not like a guy, like is not, you know, a 41 save guy, right? Which is how many saves he made last night. Not last night, but how much he made on Thursday.
Yeah.
He's not, you know what I mean? Like he's not a 41 save goaltender. He's not like he's not that great of a goalie, right?
Mm.
And it's the fact where I'm like, if you were able to drive the net more and get those secondary chances or get, you know, those jabs in, those pokes, or like crash the net and things like that, you know, coaches always talk about, players always talk about needing to do and things like that, you're probably going to be able to score more than a single goal.
Yeah. Like it's just gonna happen at that point.
Because Jordan Binnington is not that good.
No.
So you can like, okay, maybe you can't beat him outright by just like throwing weak shots at him. Like maybe you can sometimes, but like you're more likely, and it's going to be easier to beat him if you do those. And like I think that's like the whole point of like trying, and like I feel like, you know, like Sheldon Keefe was so known for saying this, like score the playoff style goals.
Mm.
Right? Like that was his like favorite thing to say.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing about that is like it may be the only way that you beat like a top end goalie like Vasilevsky, like Shesterkin, like Swayman, but it also then may be the easiest way, or you may then beat like a goalie like Jordan Binnington way more often.
Yeah.
Right? And it allows you to then dominate that goal. It's a really weird way of putting it. Why did I have to use dominate?
Oh, Emma.
But yeah, what else got there? I have down here want more from Wool, whatever. Still was allowing goals from the opposition coming down the middle. Like we were still allowing the St. Louis Blues to use the middle of the ice as much as they wanted. Why? Why could they keep coming straight down the middle of the ice? You have a turnover in the neutral zone, coming straight to the ice.
Yeah.
So that's that game. I also have written down here like Dewar and Hankapel are starting to skate a little bit more as well. Like I know Dewar's been skating in practices and taking line rushes and stuff. So that's a good sign. They still have, I think, now 2 more games that they have to miss before they're eligible to come back. So they can come back like November 1st. Will they? Perhaps. Because I mean, Leafs would have to make the cap room, right? Yeah. But like, if you're having problems with your bottom 6, like it seems like they are in the way that they're shuffling guys through that rotation, Connor Dewar, like I know Connor Dewar is not going to save this team single-handedly, but he provides a fresh look on a fourth line that has honestly gone quite stale and is not accomplishing anything with Ryan Reeves there. And I've been probably the most critical person about this Ryan Reeves contract the entire time.
Yeah.
But I truly think it was too long for too much money. Like, especially looking at what you were able to get with that same amount of money.
Yeah.
And also as well as like the way that I put it as well as like I understand locker room intangibles and things like that and locker room presence are like important for this team, but like you can get it from other guys. You don't have to hire Ryan Reeves. And this was the whole thing we said last year. I remember we fully had this conversation on the podcast, and we talked about building Legos of the players in the locker room.
Yeah.
It was a whole bit that we ran away with, where it was like,
I forgot we said
Toronto
that.
Maple Leafs could pay us less money than they're paying Ryan Reeves, and we could do his job.
Yeah.
Which is just be the locker room vibes guy. That was our whole bit last year. And it's the fact that, like, nothing's changed. And that's what's the most frustrating, I think, is, like, nothing's changed with this team. So moving on to Toronto versus Boston. In Boston. Stoller's taking the start against Swayman. Pacioretty is back in. Who was held out of the lineup? I don't have it written down. Was it Holmberg?
Why can I not remember?
Was Holmberg held out? Who was? I don't think it was Reeves. I think he played. Hold on.
I'm trying to remember.
Get my phone out. I can pull it up. It's loading. Hold on.
Loading.
Box score. Toronto. Yes, it was Holmberg.
Mm.
Holmberg held out of the lineup, which is sure he hasn't been having a great couple of games. But yeah, Max Pacioretty back in. It also is a season debut for Philip Myers. Sure, why not? What I don't understand what the issue is with Timothy Liljegren. I don't get it. Why isn't he playing? What? And every time they'll like, he's not going to go in tonight either. Timmins is back in. And that's where I'm like really confused. I'm like, is like Liljegren is not like that bad.
No.
And is it like, if it's purely a size thing, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? Like if that's the reason why he's being held out of the lot and it's like it's purely a size thing, that's ridiculous.
So stupid.
Yeah, season debuts for Philip Myers. He played like fine.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there. Sure. All right. I have even first period. There was no scoring in the first. Both teams aren't playing well. Like if you like Bruins aren't playing like the Boston Bruins. Like the only line that was really scoring before this game was their fourth line. Like that was their best line. Was their fourth line. Which it was like a fourth line that like consisted of like Mark Kastelix and like John Beecher, and I can't remember who was like the other guy on that line. Those are the two names that I do remember. Which like not a line full of stars there, right?
No.
I have also written down here, Leafs still have defensive issues. And this is where I'm gonna jump in with my tweet that I tweeted about during the game. And I think I was perfectly right. I think I was so incredibly right. And that is, Leafs defense is just allowing a dumb turnover in the neutral zone, having to backcheck so hard as the opposing team just zooms down the middle, and then Chris Tanev blocking a shot that should have never happened.
Ding, ding, ding.
I think I watched that exact sequence play out like 20 times over the course of both games.
Yeah,
I understand, like, Chris Tanev's entire job is to block shots. Like, that's what he's there for. But also at the same time, like, you still do want, like, longevity from your players. And, like, you don't want them to be forced to defend by blocking, like, shots all night because that's the only way that they can defend. That's not how defense works. Let's be so completely honest.
Yeah.
Like, and I know, like, you gotta put your body on the line if you gotta win, if you want to win. That involves, like, yes, I do understand that, like, blocking shots is part of the game, but, like, also, do you want your guys blocking every single shot? And because that's the only way they know how to play defense? No. You want them to never get into the opportunity where they have to block a shot because you don't want the other team to get a shot off.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the game. Like, what are we doing? I sound like a crazy person. I feel like a crazy person.
Yeah, I feel like watching the Leafs does that to you, though.
I have Matthew Nice here scoring a goal.
Give that man however much money he wants.
Sign the
Please.
contract. And I know I threw it. Was it last episode where I was throwing out arbitrary numbers for Matthew Nice?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said somewhere in the $6 to $7 million range.
Like, please just give him the money.
8-year deal. And I don't know if there's like there probably is a conversation going on that's happening right now. I'm sure of it. We also like knew just think about and we're gonna talk about the Jake McCabe contract eventually, but like that got signed. That was like official today. It probably got signed today as well. And we first heard that was something that was going to happen, or like that was like in the pipeline, in the works, whatever, like back in September. So it's been like a month.
Yeah.
Over a month. I think it's been about 6 weeks that we've heard being like, oh, this Jake McCabe contract's in the works. And when it was talked about, when it was first like, oh, this is going like Jake McCabe extension, it was talked about like it was soon, right? So we don't know how long these things take, things like that. But yeah, and then I just have David Pastrnak ties it up. Sure, why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Of course.
Because of course. Yeah, and then Morgan Riley 2-1. Matthews following the shot to the net. That's what stood out the most to me. Is because I've been saying, I think all season, the Leafs, what they need to do is like when a shot goes off and there's no one net front, someone has to get net front. And like if you watch the clip and you don't watch like Morgan Riley or the puck and you watch just Austin Matthews, and you can see how he then follows the puck in, right?
Yeah.
So he's following the puck in after the shot. So if there is a rebound, he can maybe try and get another attempt off. Get another shot off, which is the whole point. And that's what I've been saying they need to be doing all season.
Yeah, it's...
Why is it taking you game 9 of the season to figure this out?
I don't even know anymore.
I also have here William Nylander got 4-minute. I only am pointing this out because it's funny. William Nylander got a double minor, so 4 minutes for high sticking on Pastrnak. I think Pastrnak lost part of a tooth in that. I think he said after the game.
Yeah.
William Nylander is gonna owe David Pastrnak a lot of dinners, I'm sure. I'm sure they're fine about it. It's just that it's the two of them and they're notably friends. So I'm sure there probably was a text afterwards going, don't worry, dinner next time's on me.
Yeah, sorry.
Oops. Awkward. Like, it's just a little bit awkward when you hurt your friend.
Just a bit awkward when you, I don't know, break their teeth.
Yeah. I have also as well here, so they kill off the 4-minute penalty, the 4-minute penalty. They kill off the double minor. And then immediately afterwards, Justin Brazeau ties it up, which is the most Leafs thing in the entire world.
So insanely Leafy. It actually hurts.
Yeah. But I do want to loop. I think it was after, actually, now that I'm looping back to this David Pastrnak goal, now that we're talking about him, I do remember that goal because I was like, I could see that goal because it was on the power play, and I was like, I saw that goal coming from a mile away. You knew it was happening. You could see them get set up, and you're like, here we go.
Like, oh boy.
But yeah, Mark Kastelik. So again, that's that fourth line, 3-2. Where was the defense? Why are you letting Mark Kastelik score on you? It's Mark Kastelik. But yeah, that one there was just there was no defense. I was like, what are we doing?
It's like, what's going on? What's going on there?
And then I have, here we go, Austin Matthews with less than 2 minutes left. 3-3, ties it up. That's another just very captainly goal. Kind of brings the team back into it, ties it up, sends the game into overtime. It's the Leafs. There we go.
There we
It's the Leafs' first game to go into overtime of the season, which is great. Like, what do you mean we're 9 games into the season and this is the first time we've gone to overtime?
Yeah, and you know what? It was just as painful as
Just as painful
I
as I
anticipated.
remember. Because Leafs get a scoring chance on the Bruins. Looks good, looks close. Puck gets sent back down the ice. Austin Matthews then passes to nobody.
Oh,
No
that's
one
cold.
was there, and he said it in his post game. He was like, "Well, I was expecting someone to be there, so I passed it, and when I looked up, I realized no one was there, and that's when I realized I messed up."
You look before you pass. Oh my god, you get paid to
You,
do this.
you're like literally, he's getting paid what, $13 million now,
And the man can't
13.25.
use his eyes.
Maybe you should use some of that to get an eye test, or at least like not assume that your teammates are going to be right there. Like, I know you assume because that's the normal play for you guys, but like, I'd still double check to make
Yeah, like,
sure.
is it not drilled into you to look before you pass?
It literally was right to
Like,
absolutely nobody. The first person on the puck was a Bruin. Causes a little chaos in front of the net. Storts actually tries his absolute damn hardest to make that save.
yeah, there
He
was
almost did. Like,
so close.
hats off to him. He was close. Brad Marchand gets the goal. His first of the season. Just to really yeah, he like, and that's the thing where it was like, this is exactly how I expected this game to end. I would have been surprised if they had won. Because I think
Yeah.
we talk about this every year, and I think Leaf fans talk about this every year. If you know this team well enough, you can kind of look at like the schedule when it first comes out and just point off, like check off the scheduled losses.
Like, oh, that's not gonna happen.
Like the first thing you go to is the game, like the second game of a back-to-back where the Leafs just played a stronger opponent and then they play a weaker opponent the next night.
It's
That
so
second game is a loss every
bad.
single time. And we always say they need to be better. They can't lose to those teams, and then they still do. Boston in Boston, always going to be a loss. That always, and it may be an overtime loss
Mm,
because,
just to rub
but
salt in the wound.
yeah, they at least, Leafs at least get the point. But my least favorite thing that I saw after the game, at least I even saw it during the game, but like I saw this mostly after the game as well, is that single screenshot of Mitch
Oh my
Marner.
god, that screenshot.
And like if you
It,
actually, the worst thing about that screenshot is if you actually like watch the clip that it's from, he was perfectly in his right to make the pass.
mm,
Because I don't even know who was like that Bruin who was net front, but like he was coming across to block off the shot so quickly in the actual video that like to react to take the shot would have just been shooting directly into a Bruin, and then you would have been like getting mad at Mitch Marner anyways for like shooting, like for like, you know what I mean, for missing the shot.
no, legit, because it's like, that's why I hate when people just take a single screenshot.
Yeah, it tells you absolutely nothing about the story
Because
of the
it's like,
play.
you don't, unless you can watch the entire play and not just look at one screenshot, you're not gonna know, like, where everyone else on the ice was, how they were moving, how fast they were moving. And like,
Yeah,
you can't judge a single situation from a screenshot. Like, you just can't.
and like this is where I may get like very like comms, like media studies major into this. But like a picture and a single image is a single snapshot in time, and
Mm.
when you take that picture and you take that snapshot, you remove the picture from any of the surrounding context that it was in. So you just
Mm.
are like, you are doing a disservice to especially if you're using it to like analyze play or analyze, like if you're analyzing a film or things like that, but so like we're going to treat a hockey game like a movie now, I guess. But if you take a single still or a single frame out of a movie, you remove all the original context that that frame existed
Mm.
in its sequence. if that makes sense, in the sequence of a scene.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in a hockey game. If you're watching a play or you're watching a sequence, as I like to describe them as sequences, but because there are sequences of plays, but you take a single screenshot, that does so much disservice to the actual scenario and the actual situation that play was taking place in, and removes all additional context surrounding both sides of that image into like the continuum of the sequence, if that makes sense. I just got like, I'm realizing I may have like totally media studies explained, like used my like university, what I'm going to university for, to explain my frustrations with hockey Twitter about its treatment of Mitch Marner. And it may be a little bit too academic for like most people who listen to our podcasts. But I realize now I just called our listeners dumb. That's not what I meant. I just meant that's not what I meant. I just meant that like I know everyone who like doesn't listen to our show has a background in has a background in media studies in the same way that I do. That's what I mean when I say that I may have just like totally lost everyone with that explanation.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Okay, I don't think there's a lot of people who listen who have like the same degree that I do. Oh god. But what I will say though is like Mitch Marner still had 3 assists on the night.
Yeah, everyone's acting like the man just stood there and did fuck all. He what?
But he had 3, like that's the thing that pisses me off about that single screenshot is people are like, look at this is who you're paying, like this is who you're paying, like trade Mitch Marner, blah 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 blah, should have taken a shot. Guys, he got 3 assists, something you can only get by passing the puck.
And also, it's like, oh, he got 3 assists, which is 3 more assists than you got. So, shut your trap and just leave the man alone. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
two of those three assists were primary assists. So it was primary assist on the Morgan Rielly goal, primary assist on the Austin Matthews goal, and then he got a secondary assist on the Matthew Nyes goal.
Yeah. He's... Sometimes I really think deleting Twitter would be good for me.
Better for your stress.
So much better for my stress.
But yeah.
But no, it's... Yeah, I just wish people would think before they tweet. Like,
yeah.
Just an ounce of common sense can go a long way. And I think people don't realize that. Like, just stop and be like, is what I'm about to say productive? No, it's just not. But, yeah.
And like that's my thing too, is like I was like, this is the thing that like pisses me off about the people who like refuse to see beyond their own like irrational hatred of Mitch Marner. That I get it, like you need someone to blame. It can't always be Mitch Marner. And I think also as well as like Austin Matthews is the reason why Boston won the game. And no one's mad at Austin Matthews. And I get it also as well. It's like, it's Austin Matthews. You can't be mad at Austin. Like, I'm sorry. Apologies to all the Canadian, like, Leaf fans out there. You do realize come February, you have to actively root against Austin Matthews. You do realize what's coming, right? In February, Four Nations, you have to actively root against Austin Matthews, who's on Team USA, because he's American. Like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to do it eventually.
Yeah, it's like,
and like you have to be able to like I get it. You want to like how I'm putting this is like we have to like I hate just sitting here and criticizing players. It's not what I want to do. But there is sometimes like the criticism is just and it is fair and it is valid because it is criticizing them for mistakes that they've made that impacted the results of the game.
Yeah. Like,
and
I don't care how good someone is. That like any player is always gonna have moments
because they're human beings.
Yeah, it's like they're always gonna have moments where it's, you know, not their finest.
No.
And it's okay to criticize them for that. It's like no player is untouchable, even if a lot of people kind of think they are.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think also as well as like it's the fact that like a single screen like and this is part of the reason where I'm like this is exactly why like players don't like coming here in free agency to Toronto. It's like a single screenshot of Mitch Marner choosing to pass the puck instead of shoot it that had no actual impact over the result of the game. It's not like him choosing to make the pass led to a turnover. In fact, I think like it was a pass to like Austin Matthews who got the shot off. Right? If I remember correctly.
That's the thing, it's like it's not even like it was an unproductive or like a bad decision. It's still
led to a scoring chance. And then there's people who are like, well, if he just took the shot, then it could have been a goal. I'm like, then what? If you're playing what if with every single Mitch Marner based decision in a hockey game, get a life.
Yeah, it's like
get a life. That's what you're choosing to spend your time doing is to overanalyze the what if of every single decision that Mitch Marner makes on the ice. Get a life. You're spending way too much time thinking about another man. I said it. I said it.
Like, why are you obsessed with him?
Why are you obsessed with Mitch Marner?
Like if you're that obsessed with Mitch Marner, join Stan Twitter.
If you're that obsessed with Mitch Marner, like it puts like 12-year-old me in 2015 to shame.
Like it puts me and my One Direction fan account. And I ran that like the Navy.
Is that still up or did you like deactivate the account?
I just gave someone else the login.
Oh.
Because I was like, I stopped posting on it, so I was like,
how many followers did said One Direction fan account get up to?
5K?
Jesus!
I know. Holy
crap!
I was big back in the day.
And you're telling me we couldn't have been using this clout for the podcast?
I wouldn't want to.
There's some crossover. We know there's some crossover.
There's definitely some crossover.
Odds are there's someone who followed that account who like is now on hockey Twitter. There's probably multiple people.
Yeah, and that terrifies me. I don't want to be perceived as past me. Past me is not current me. We are different people.
Sorry, I'm just imagining like we're not gonna say the username on the show, but I'm just imagining there's someone out there who's like, wait a minute.
Oh, it definitely is. Definitely.
That's so, but like, right? And then but this is all back looping to the fact that like, why did Mitch Marner get more criticism for that pass than Austin Matthews did for the pass to nobody that directly led to to the Boston Bruins winning that game?
Because people love to shit on Mitch Marner.
Yeah. And, like, this has been, like, my problem, and, like, this is why I feel like we have to, like, I just, like, we're talking about it because I find it so annoying, and this is my show, and our show, and we can choose what we talk about. I do the editing, so...
Yeah, you do the editing.
Yeah, what else do I have? Leafs power play still struggling. There's been more and more suggestions from, I think, just like general people on Twitter, and also as well like panels and things like that. Just like try balancing out both units. Spoiler alert, they are now. We'll talk about that after we talk about Jake McCabe signed an extension. This morning that news came out.
Indeed.
A 5-year deal, $4.51 million AAV, and it gets complicated because there's some deferred salary involved. Which, like, thanks, Brad, I actually had to learn about more money. Like, I literally, I saw that there was some deferred salary, and I was like, Jesus Christ, no.
Please. Oh.
Yeah.
Finished.
But yeah, so this will take him, so by the end of his contract, he will be 36 as a UFA. Deferred salary is also on the deal, so there's some money. So according to Chris Johnson, he left money on the table to stay in Toronto, which I guess is a good thing. That's something that you want. It does also mean that you were locking down like the top 4 of your defensive core now until the end, at least the end of Austin Matthews' 4-year deal. So this is your defensive core through these core peak years of Austin Matthews' career as he becomes almost a seasoned league veteran. Oh, that scares, you know how much that scares me?
A lot.
The way that they talk about like Austin Matthews being like he's now like not 22. Like 26.
I don't like
but yeah, yeah. But here I have the full breakdown from Puckpedia. This is a full breakdown from Puckpedia. McCabe 5-year, $23.5 million extension. Year 1, it's mostly signing bonus. Year 2 and 3 is where the deferred salary is. So in year 2, there's $3 million signing bonus deferred to year 6. And then on year 3, it's $2.5 million of a signing bonus deferred to year 6. So that's $5.5 million of a signing bonus deferred so that he gets paid out in year 6, which I believe then means that it doesn't go against the cap in year 6.
Okay.
Because it's a signing bonus. I think that's what that means. I've tried to do some research into it. I'm familiar with how deferred contracts work through like baseball. But baseball doesn't really have a salary cap, so it doesn't really matter. They're just like, oh, we'll pay you money now and then we'll pay you more later. Look at Shohei Ohtani's contract. But the NHL has a much stricter salary cap.
Yeah. Definitely.
Speaking of Shohei Ohtani, he's apparently going to play in Game 3 after dislocating his shoulder.
Oh dear.
Yeah. A lot of hockey going on tonight. Yeah. Now that it's like in Puckpedia, it's like they have it. I'm looking. I get like the extended. Okay, so I actually like. Okay, I think I'm figuring this out. Yeah, so this makes him a UFA in 2030. That's not a real year. Okay, so yeah. This then doesn't. Okay. So then, yeah, 2030, then it doesn't go against the cap. I guess this is how it works. Sure. All right. Whatever. And because we're all asking when it comes to the no trade, because I think most people also think about this as well. Year 1 and 2 is a full no trade. Year 3 through 5 is a 6-team no trade list, which is fine.
Yes, whatever.
He's a good defenseman. I think, you know what, he's kind of surprised a lot of people because honestly, like, he's played well. And for the people who are like, oh, that's a big pay raise because you look at his cap hit, like, on Puckpedia, like, you look at, like, the team and you just look at, see, he's sitting at, like, $2 million. And like, ooh, that's a big pay raise. No, it's not. If you remember, Chicago retained 50% of his salary on the trade when he was traded to Toronto with Sam Lafferty 2 years ago at the deadline. So we've had him for 3 years at $2 million with Chicago retaining 50% of his salary.
Which is wild.
Which is what, like, okay, Kyle. And, like, okay, so you had to, like, Kyle Dubas did have to give up, what, like, Joey Anderson. All right. A prospect who I don't think really has amounted to anything yet, and a first and a second. Okay, well, we don't have Sam Lafferty anymore, but we do still have Jake McCabe. And, like, that retained salary has been so valuable.
Massively. Like,
because Jake McCabe's game is just is consistent. He's a consistent, like, right? Like, he's been very consistent.
Yeah.
At least through this. And through his time with the Leafs, I guess is how I'd be phrasing it. So congratulations to Jake McCabe. He gets to stick around in Toronto for a lot longer. Seems well liked. I mean, he seems to also, as well, from what I've read and what I've seen, have taken on, like, a slight little, like, leadership role within the locker room as well.
Yeah.
Which is good for him. At least, you know, with, like, the defensive core and things like that. But yeah. All right, so now on to this. Leafs play the undefeated Winnipeg Jets tonight. Leafs are also wearing their cursed Justin Bieber jerseys, which I'm surprised they're still able to wear this season because, like, because of, like, things with, like, Adidas and stuff like that. But I think you know what? I think the reason why they're still able to wear this, because I saw some people be like, oh, I'm surprised that they're still able to wear these, like, even with the switch from Adidas to Fanatics, and those were, like, Adidas third jerseys, is no teams are able to introduce third jersey for the next couple of years. But if teams had a third jersey prior to, like, you know what I mean? Like, if they had an existing third jersey the year before, they're allowed to carry it through and carry it into, like, you know what I mean? Carry it into this Fanatics deal. So it's like, that's why you still see, like, Minnesota wearing their thirds, their, like, Subway jerseys, as they're called, because they look like they're like Subway colors. Who else has a third jersey that I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and I, like, can't remember? Oh, Winnipeg also has third jerseys. Who else? Oh, Vancouver. Trying to think of, like, another third jersey team. Oh, New York. There's quite a few teams that have, like, their jerseys where they were, like, reverse retros at one point, or in the case of the Toronto Maple Leafs, a collaboration that they've just then held on to. Like, a lot of teams, like, surprisingly enough, have just, like, held on to, like, reverse retro designs and implemented them as, like, their jerseys, because they're like, there's some sick reverse. There were some, like, pretty cool reverse retro designs out there. There were some big flops. There were some pretty bad ones. Detroit's all white with the gray shoulder pads. Did you see that one? Do you know which one I'm talking about? Where it looks like a practice jersey where they've just then put, like, the actual logo on a plain white jersey.
Yeah, not a good look.
Those were a little bit boring. I guess also it's like for some teams as well, it's like, how do you, like, you know what I mean? Like, for like a team like the Detroit Red Wings, like, how do you change up a jersey that, like, has never been changed ever?
Yeah,
and is
it's kind of
so iconic and has like a, one of the most like iconic logos in sports because it's just
like,
so unique. Like no one, like when you think about like you also have to think about the fact of like when that logo got introduced as well. It's like what person like around the start of the origins of the NHL, like the mid 20s, 30s, was like let's take a wheel because we're Detroit and we're the Red Wings. Let's put some wings on. Like who thought of that?
I I don't know, I would love to queen out with them.
Yeah. Um.
Like, what a conversation that would be.
Yeah. So there's multiple things working against the Leafs tonight. The Leafs haven't lost to Winnipeg since 2021. Since that infamous video got put up of, is there anything better than beating the Leafs? The Winnipeg Jets have yet to lose against the Leafs. It's my favorite thing in the world to bring
I
up because
love
it's been
it.
like 3 years. It's been like 3 years and they still haven't, like, what? Like, and we talked about this too. It's like, when the Leafs played like Winnipeg, like in the span of like 2 weeks, and we were like the podcast was doing great. We were flying high at that time.
Oh, we were having such a good
Those were
time.
um, but yeah. So the Leafs, you know what? They usually don't do well in the Justin Bieber like what next gen, I guess probably. They have like 3 different names. The next gen jerseys. Leafs are also coming off like a 3-game losing streak. So if they lose 4 in a row, it's due like you're doomsdaying, and then you don't play for 2 days after. And like you don't play till Thursday next, right? Against Seattle.
Oh
And then
boy.
you're on the road Saturday against St. Louis. But then you go on like a little Midwest road trip because then you're in Minnesota. But yeah, Leafs haven't lost to Winnipeg, blah, blah, blah. Robertson out, according to line rushes from practice today. Stolarz is going to get the start. All right.
Sure.
There also was a change to the power play units. This is via David Alter. Power play 1 has Riley, Marner, Matthews, Pacioretty, and Nyes. Power play 2 has Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Nylander, Domi, McMahon, Tavares. So it's a little bit more evened out. And this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier in the show when I was talking about like the need to switch up the power play units. Because like so far, prior to this power play, like them changing up the power play units has just been swapping Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Riley. Right? So now
That's not much of a change up.
But now there's a little bit more of a change up. You're bringing down Nylander and Tavares and putting up Pacioretty and Nyes. So maybe we'll see. Maybe then it'll balance out the time on ice for both of the usage of both of those power play units as well. And then it essentially is what your first line and Pacioretty, and then your second line and Tavares. Right?
Yeah.
So then maybe it works better for when then you're coming off the power play. Because the Leafs have also had issues where just like the shift directly after a Leafs power play has just been disastrous for them. I'd love to know if there's a way to look at those advanced stats, because like if someone has a way to like send them my way, because I would love to know.
Please do. You will have a very, very happy Emma.
Oh yeah.
Literally enrichment time in your enclosure.
Yeah, because like the thing is like for me, like from an eye test perspective, it looks worse, but like it could just be putting like a bias on it, or like not even like a bias, but like you know what I mean. Like I would like to see some advanced stats to kind of like back up what I'm seeing, because it makes me feel better about what I'm seeing. But yeah, that's kind of all I have. I don't know who's starting in net tonight for the Jets. I haven't really seen that. I don't know who would have. I saw someone retweet some like. I'm like scrolling through looking to see if I can like find like the Winnipeg Jets like lines. Oh, here we go. I did find Jets on TSN. Power play, blah blah blah. Okay, by the looks of it, this is via John Liu, who is the TSN for like in Winnipeg. Like he's the TSN journalist in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's version of Mark Masters. Okay. It looks like Hellebuck starting in net.
Right then.
Woohoo!
Yippee!
So, yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have to talk about with the Leafs, if I'm looking at my notes correctly.
That's all my Leafy stuff I've got.
I believe I've covered all my complaints. I don't think I have anything more to complain about.
Yeah.
No. So what I do have is, if you missed last night's game against Ottawa and Colorado, around, because we're gonna go around the rest of the league for a bit. If you missed last night's game against Ottawa and Colorado, you missed maybe the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It was a little bit of goalie musical chairs for Ottawa. Forsberg, after having a slight skate-on-skate collision with Rantanen, just trying to make a save, getting across, got called back for goalie interference, which, if you're wondering, if you see that goal and you're like, why, look at the top-down view. I think that one's the most obvious, where you can see how it's interference. I'm not here to argue about interference. I thought it was interference the whole way, and, like, I'm not even, like, biased to the sentence. It just, like, if you, through the definition of the rule, it was goalie interference. But, yeah, so apparently some screws were loose. It was something with his blade. So Linus Ullmark goes in for about a shift, essentially until the next whistle. And then Forsberg goes back out, plays about until the next whistle, and then comes back out of the game to get the problem fixed with his skate. And so it's about, like, 3-4 more shifts with Ullmark in net before then, like, 2 whistles later, Ullmark is like, I'm good to, not Ullmark, Forsberg is like, I'm good to go back in. They had to, like, lay him down in the tunnel so they could, like, properly look at his game, properly, like, fix it, and, like, redo all the straps and everything. And so Forsberg goes back in and finishes the game.
It's wild.
Which is just an absolute wild night. So if you had Ullmark for fantasy, I'm sure you probably got some, like, nice, fun little bonus points in there. Because he went in, made a couple saves.
A little sprinkle of...
Didn't allow any goals in.
Which is always nice.
Which is nice, yeah. So that was just, like, it's something weird where I'm like, I've never seen that. And, like, them going back and forth like that. Look, I was sick in bed, hopped up on cold medicine. I was like, what is going on?
I'm sure you were having an experience.
I was, because then I'm also thinking about the fact I'm like, I'm gonna have to write about this later. Like, just after I had to write about, like, Sens and Kings in that game, I'm like, oh, now I'm gonna have to sit here and go, well, goaltender musical chairs. There's also some fun little homecomings tonight in the schedule. I want to make sure I get this. Well, not tonight, but tonight, yes. So it is Steven Stamkos's first time playing back in Tampa since he was not re-signed and then signed with Nashville. So that's going to be fun. And then tomorrow, if you need a game to watch, Minnesota Wild are in Pittsburgh with Marc-André Fleury getting the start for his final game in Pittsburgh before his retirement.
Ooh,
so I
might tweet out my edit to celebrate.
Celebrate. So that game, if you want a little bit more of an emotional affair, definitely tomorrow night. That game is at 7. It does not have a Canadian broadcast because I believe there's baseball tomorrow. That is inhibiting the broadcast on Sportsnet's usual channel. So they just have, like, an early game, like Flyers Bruins, and then a late game, Kings Sharks on Sportsnet 1. But we all know that there's ways around that.
Yes.
Not going to say it explicitly, but yeah.
There are ways.
There are ways. I mean, tonight's game, Leafs versus Jets, is on Prime. Sure. I believe also as well, that's the only... Here's what I am very curious to see how this broadcast goes, because this is the first time on the Monday night broadcast on Prime that it is 2 Canadian teams playing each other. Prior to that, it's always been an American team on the other end. So like they have their own separate broadcast that is so like the prime team doesn't have to be as bipartisan. I'm interested to see how they will handle this one, at least from like a commentary side and like an analytical side, and just like, you know what I mean? Like you have to kind of balance between, you know, showing like favoritism or at least showing like, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be a tough thing to balance. At least before they could be just like, you know what I mean? Like they can be very obviously show more support for the Canadian team because it was like the Canada only broadcast and it was only one Canadian team playing. The American team had their own separate broadcast. So we'll see.
We shall see.
We shall see. I don't know. I'm so not looking forward to having to watch Marc Messier again at intermission. Yeah. I hate hearing like it's annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else to bring up. Oh, I guess also as well. According to just some quick fly through some news pretty quickly throughout the league. Barkov plays tonight, or at least will be back in the lineup. I think, is it tonight? Yes, tonight against the Sabres, which is good for Florida. Allows them to get even better. And then also as well is the Carolina Hurricanes called up Spencer Martin this morning due to an injury with Frederik Andersen. Freddie Andersen is dealing with an injury. This is via Frank Saravalli. Hence the recall of Spencer Martin, not believed to be long-term, but will be reevaluated when the Canes return home. Good news, it's not related to a reoccurrence of a blood clot issue that he suffered with last year, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It could just be, oh, he's tight and he needs to go to yoga, which like...
Go to yoga.
But yeah, this is like, so it's good as well for Carolina as well. So Kochetkov will get the start tonight versus the Canucks, and then they don't play again until Thursday. The Hurricanes. So there will be some time for that all to get sorted out.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I will say I saw Jeremy Swayman's Halloween costume.
Oh my!
With his girlfriend cracked me up.
I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard. It obviously then just further proves my whole point of like, hey, these guys like, or at least their families, see what you say about them online.
Yeah. It's
like,
it just it really made me giggle.
For those who haven't seen it, which I don't know how you how I don't see how you've been able to miss it. The Boston Bruins, Jeremy Swayman and his girlfriend, and then Brad Marchand and his wife. I believe he's married. The face you made.
Sorry, that was mean.
I'm gonna go ahead and take that screenshot of just that moment of you going.
Oh
no. Dressed up as like it's like a mafia couple, obviously probably making jokes or making jabs at like all the people who were like, oh yeah, Jeremy Swayman's girlfriend like has ties to the mob. And it was this whole thing, and they were like, Jeremy Swayman's mafia girlfriend is like the reason why Linus Ullmark got traded because she got jealous. I'm like, you guys are insane.
Batshit.
But yeah, so it was obvious. It probably was making jabs at that because I don't see how they could just like, that's too much of a coincidence for that to be like their Halloween costume anyways. But yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. I'm assuming the Leafs probably have their Halloween party at some point before their game on Halloween against Seattle at home. So keep an eye out. We never really got that many pictures from last year's, and I am still thinking about like the speed skater costumes.
We were robbed.
We were robbed.
And we will not be robbed this year.
We will not. I would like to see just full. Allow me to like zoom in. Because that's my favorite
pictures.
That's my favorite thing is like the giant group picture, and it's like me zooming in. But the thing is like I never know enough of the players to be like, oh, to know who's who. It is really notice like Chicago's though was very easy for me to go like, oh, I know who that is. I was like, half of them used to be Leafs. Like TJ Brody was all the way in the back, and I was like, there's the mustache.
I know you.
I'll send you. I'll try and find Chicago's because it was actually really funny. I think I spent way too long trying to find Connor Bedard, only for him to be like hidden off to the side doing like a sorority girl pose.
Yeah, just his little.
No, it was like hands on the knee, like you know which one I'm talking.
Little...
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
And like a pilot, like he was wearing like a bomber jacket that had like aviators on, so I'm sure he was like, I'm like Top Gun or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I always forget that Chicago exists purely because I have them blocked on Twitter, so I just never see anything. I have Chicago and Vegas.
At least then you don't have to see like Vegas's like annoying emoji starting lineups.
Yeah, I'm quite glad. I'm putting myself first.
Those piss me off only because like I don't know, like I only know maybe about 5 of the emojis, like and the like, you know, and the players who they represent. So like I look at this, I'm like, this tells me absolutely nothing.
It's like, what?
And I like also as well as like if you're a fan, then like, you know what I mean? Like if you're a new fan to the team or something, like there's this barrier of like access.
You don't know.
And also as well, the other thing too is like they have such a great graphics department over at Vegas too.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Be creative.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything else to add. I don't have anything else to add tonight to this. Sorry, I'm just like half distracted because I'm still trying to like think of like what we're gonna name this episode, and I don't think neither of us have said anything that works. So that means I have to think.
Oh no.
Yeah. But with that being said, we'll end the episode here. Yeah, Leafs play tonight. But we'll be back on Thursday for another episode where we get to dedicate an entire episode to one game.
Yay!
And preview Halloween's. It's Halloween, our next episode. And there is someone blowing leaves directly outside my bedroom door.
Oh, that's nice.
So this is definitely could probably be heard in the episode. This is so great. Thank you so much for that. For doing this at 4:30 on a Monday. So I'm just like,
earlier people were setting off fireworks, and I was like, please don't let this be. Like,
yeah. Sure. But with that being said, yeah, we'll have an episode on. I'm not doing anything on Thursday for Halloween. Are you doing anything on Thursday for Halloween?
No, I'm having a movie day on the sofa.
Yeah, see the Halloween party that I'm going to is not until Saturday.
Oh. You see,
I still don't have a costume for that though, so we'll see.
Oh no! You see, I would go to a Halloween party, but I'm going home for my friend's birthday at the weekend. So any Halloween parties I would have gone to are happening when I'm not here, which is kind of annoying. But also, it means I don't have to think of a costume.
That's the nice thing. I'm having the hardest. I've never been good with costumes.
You see, what I was in town last week with my housemate, and I was in Flying Tiger, and they had the little, in Dead Poet Society when Neil's in the play and he's got the little twig.
Thorn crown, yeah.
Yeah, thorn crown. Yeah, they had one that looked like identical to that, and I was like, damn, if I was
Going to a
actually
party.
doing anything for Halloween, I would have slid.
Yeah, I kind of have to
The Neil
decide by
calendar.
like tonight or tomorrow so that I could order some. Like if I have to order something from Amazon, it
Like,
hopefully can arrive in time with Prime shipping. So I'm like this close to like doing something incredibly like not demeaning, but just like lazy and like ordering a pair or like finding a pair of like bunny ears and grabbing a jersey off my wall and going as a puck bunny.
No, I have seen so many discussions about that on Twitter, and it's like, guys, why are you deeping it?
And so that's why I'm like, if I go as that's like, I feel like that, I don't know if that's like just like horribly like demeaning as someone who like you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen people say that, but also like at the same time, it's not that deep.
It also is probably the least offensive costume that I've seen.
Yeah, it's
like I've seen worse.
It's like if all else fails, you could do what I did last year, and just fake blood t-shirt, grey shirt, jeans, Adam from Saw.
I didn't even go out for Halloween last year, but
I'm gonna go out to the shop tomorrow and I might see if I can find a little pumpkin to put outside, like because you can get like the tiny ones like that.
Yeah.
Just so people know that they can in fact trick or treat, because I will be buying sweets.
That's good.
Because there's like my street's like half students, half like families.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a very like mixed area. Like there's some areas like around where I live that are like just students, and like ours is quite a nice mix of students, family.
Yeah, we don't really get a lot of trick-or-treat, mostly because I live like in an apartment building.
Yeah.
And like everyone who lives in my building is a student. So like we don't really get the trick-or-treaters, but I do know people who like would sit out like on the corner of our street, like in like lawn chairs during like the peak time and hand out candy to kids.
Yeah.
Which I realize maybe sounds a little bit creepy if they're not like 20-year-old university students.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's not creepy because they're 20-year-old like university students just sitting on the corner.
It's like, here, have some sweets. Walk around in your little costumes.
Yeah. But that being said, we'll end the show here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Oh my god, I need to go take a nap before my class.
Go have yourself a nap.
Cold as yeah. This has been another episode of From the Fourth Line, presented by Offside News. You can find Offside on all of their on all social media platforms at Offside News Co. You can also find them on their website where you can read all the fabulous articles that they have written at offsidenewsco.com. You can follow the show on Twitter if you want to never miss another episode at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4 TH. You can also, if you really miss us between episodes, follow Marcie and I on Twitter at 60 Leafs for Marcie, at Pair B1 for myself. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm going to go lie down and have a nap. We'll be back on Thursday with another episode as always, and go Leafs go.
Go Leafs go.
Oh my god, I need to lie down.
Oh, Emma.